Hello, everyone. Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is so 420. Make sure the mic's pointed there. There we go. As always, the stories that I share are 100% factual, and I can prove it. My opinions are my own. You can't have them, but you are more than welcome to share them, and hopefully, many of you do. Actually, right? Let's start off with a traditional hit. Normally, I'm blowing one out, but that's my pre-records. It's little different than when I'm doing live. And I am, again, one of those nights. I think it was last Saturday too, for whatever reason. But it's been a very hectic day, a very cool day. I've got a lot to discuss. I will start off before I even take the hit. I want to wish my twins a happy 22nd birthday, and also my best friend, who is exactly 10 years to the day older than them. So he's 32, but he is my best bud. Yeah, he's younger than me, but we really bonded. And all I can tell you is he's an awesome guy, and it's his birthday as well. So happy birthday, bro. And let's take a hit off of White Widow. As you know, all my bowls have names. I'm literally shaking like a leaf, which is amazing. Let's go ahead and put it over here. It looks like we already have some comments. There we go. Hello, hello. A returner. Hello, hello. Thank you. I will talk about that in a minute. Thanks for bringing it up. Actually, that we'll just go ahead and take that. This is a gift from my mother, and as you can see, it says vintage because I'm 50, right? I'm actually twice as old as an antique car. 1972, Age of Perfection, which that's just because she knows I try to be a perfectionist. So 420, which is me. So that was a pretty cool T-shirt to get, considering I started this whole thing officially. And just so all of you folks that are tuning in for the first time understand, I've been going by the handle Spirit of 420 since I started it with Spirit of 420 at Yahoo, and then when Xbox Live went out, I got Spirit of 420 as my gamer tag, which I still have. For anybody who wants to hook up with me, I actually need to clear some spots, so give me a couple of days. I'm about to start doing that, but I gotta clear some because I think my friends list is stacked. But they're all old friends. I haven't been on there as much. Anyway, and then Spirit of 420 as well. Spirit of 420 at Gmail. So there you go. Nonetheless, I do want to go ahead. If you take a notice, and hopefully he's in the crowd tonight. Hey, how you doing, Norman? Nice to see you again. Nice comments out there. So where do I start? The first thing I want to talk about, I said happy birthday and time to take. Oh, by the way, I had forgotten his name, and I finally remember. This is Little Steam, if you can't imagine, because it's much like a little steamroller, and it really packs a beautiful hit. It is like a little steamroller. That's how it got its name. And I can hear my music. I think if I can hear it, y'all might be able to hear it. So there we go. So anyway, it's the boy's birthday. But one of the things that happened to me today is I met some really cool. Well, I've actually been following this one guy, Dirty Medic, and he's a vet. And I also follow him on Twitch. Funny enough, he's got some grow plants, a really cool grow room that he's broadcasting live there. But nonetheless, I met these guys, and I don't exactly remember how it happened, but I think Dirty Medic saw my episode on emergency room fail, and one of the things that happened during that emergency room was I met a vet in that instance that was just like so many of them were being mistreated. He wasn't getting the treatment he wanted at VA. I'm not going to go into the story. Go back and watch it. It's one of my live ones, ER fail. But nonetheless. Yeah, no, there's my term. These guys do they basically support, it's simply called Military Vet Help, and they're vets helping vets. Because I mean, these guys just, and today's not the day. We're going to do a whole thing. We're working on a collaboration, so I'm not going to go off on a long tangent. But their Discord is on the screen. It's also going to be in my shows. From now on, not necessarily always streaming on there, but I will definitely have it, a link to it, because it seems like there's, a lot of vets out there smoking marijuana, and a lot of them probably have very similar stories to me. I do believe that while I was dealing, I can tell you that by no sheer coincidence, I met a lot of vets, about not only ones that were buying from me, but ones that were getting into the business back when it was illegal. And I think a lot of them are getting into the business now that is legal. So it's awesome. That was one of the first things I want to talk about. Oh, obviously I need to bring up, because we all know, if you don't know, it's Pride Month. And that is for I don't know the exact, I have never been able to learn. I'm sorry. I'm part of it. LGBTQ or LQ. Excuse me if I don't know. Please don't be upset at me. I always copy and paste when I do it. But the reality is, simply put, it is Pride Month. So take pride in that. If y'all don't know who I am, I urge you to watch the trailer where you will find a full fledgling. But because it is Pride Month and we are discussing that, just know that I fall into that because I am a poly pansexual. I'm also swinging in an open marriage. Have been for over 12 years, been with her for over 15 years, and extremely happy and happier, quite frankly, than I've ever been. And I'll just say it, I said it in a tweet the other night. Since it's Pride Month, I take pride in my relationships, if you will. What's Nora got to say? Yeah, no. I'll do my show, but thank you. So back to the pride, because everything kind of is we're gonna get to all of it. And anyway, today's not the LSD story. That's another time. Today's story is Tales from a Drug Lord. So if you weren't aware, sorry, didn't I put that? I did write the right name on there, didn't I? Just make sure. Want to not be an idiot. Yep, there we go. Okay, it's the one. Oh, thank you. So anyway, back to pride. I take pride in it because of the fact that I have never felt happiness. And even, a lot of people ask me, being in an open relationship and swinging, how could you feel happy? It's amazing because you have first of all, you have a different appreciation. Secondly, most people that I know that live this lifestyle really come to realize that you have a greater appreciation after you are with somebody else or even share your lover with someone else. You have a greater appreciation for your lover when it's just the two of you. It's really weird. I would have never anticipated that being one of the, I guess you call it side effect of having that relationship, but it is one of the beautiful ones because I know that it's actually helped us appreciate each other much more. And I could never imagine, there may even come a time in my life where I don't go out and swing or date anymore, but I can't imagine ever not being with her. So that's all I'll say on that. Oh, that coffee is delicious. What's next on the agenda? Keep looking up. Mom always fusses at me. So, oh, it's funny because I was chatting with these guys, like I said, these vets. And I told them, I was like, I do my show live, unedited. I don't worry about it's just raw conversation. And I had gotten a suggestion not too long ago. And of course, this wasn't live. I will say this. This is when I was just recording them and then posting them. But I still feel the same way. And that is, someone was like, you should do the quick cuts so that it takes all the ums out and you just talk where that. But I'm like, I mean this truly, but if you really want that, then there's other guys doing that. Me, I'm trying to be as real and authentic, I guess is the best word for it. I'm already unique, so I'm not worried about trying to be unique anymore. But I'm trying to be as real and authentic as I possibly can be, because I think that that's what most people appreciate. I wish I had better eyes, because then I could actually see these things over here on the screen. That's half the time I put them up on the screen because I can easily. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. No reason to ever be sorry, by the way. That's something that I believe. I don't believe in the word sorry. I don't like hearing anybody say I'm sorry. You can apologize, right? And you can even say my bad. But it was something that a therapist taught me years ago who, was very big on positive thinking and positive reinforcement. And I believe it was a female. And she said, if you say I'm sorry, especially if you are very apologetic type person and you constantly say I'm sorry, you're always, no matter what, your head is hearing the words I'm sorry, which makes you a sorry individual. And we're not sorry people. We can be apologetic and we can accept blame, right? And that's why I say, and in my family, we go, I apologize, my apology, or my bad. Any one of number of those things, but we really try not to say I'm sorry. So anyway, let's move on. By the way, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody on Twitter. Has been incredible. Also, and I'm going to go ahead and change I hope they don't mind. I'm just going to change the banner real quick back over to the hashtags for a little bit, because I do want to thank my cannabis community, hashtag cannabis community, family, hashtag M Memberville. I believe, by the way, and I didn't want to put it up because I meant to verify, so I will verify and then end up adding it to the, the description of the video. But I believe their hashtag, or one of the hashtags, and it might be something separate, but I know I saw a lot of those guys with the hashtag Safe Moon. So, but I think that might be something NFT. I'm not 100%. I'll have to see. That's their website that was up earlier, but I believe they do have a hashtag. Anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to M Memberville, cannabis community, Stoner Fam, 420 Life. Those are all the hashtags that I continue to put on with the 4 hashtags that I'm trying to start, which are obviously mine, Spirit of 420, So 420, as well as Be More Strange and Strange is Good. I think the stranger that we are, and the more we allow people to see our strangeness, quite frankly, the more comfortable other people will be with themselves. I know that sounds weird, but it's what I continue to talk about. If you realize other people are just as fucking weird and strange and have all the same, bizarre thoughts that you do, because none of us know where the hell we are. Technically speaking, you can say what you want, but none of us do, right? Then you feel more comfortable with being you, and it makes it just a little bit easier being you. And I think that's pretty damn important today, just to me. I have extreme cotton mouth too. I don't know why. Oops. Nice laughter. Just pop that one up real quick. That might have not been laughter, but hey, it still looked funny to me. So, just remember this: if you are watching live now, thank you for tuning in. If you aren't watching live now, I should say this, let me say this still to the live people. For those who are watching, if you haven't seen my other live broadcasts and you're just tuning in for the first time, you can go back to my channel. We are up to now this will be video 21. Started this on April 20th at 420. And the first story that I told that day was Tales from a Drug Lord, or Tales of a Drug Lord. And today's episode is pretty much going to pick off. I think that's everything. Let me just make sure that Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Before I get into the story, I do have to share these other 2 things because I thought they were important. Since I was talking about Mrs. Spirit 420, I just wanted to say, if you check this out here, this is, and I'm sure you can see it. It's probably shining, but it's a nice little piece of silver, because the first, or I should say not the first, but when we got married, at our original ceremony, we just went and got the cheapest silver rings that we could get. They were just little sterling silver rings that you could get at any Walmart. And we got a couple of them. I think they literally were $20. I mean, like really cheap. We were not into the whole, it wasn't about all that. It was really just about tying the knot. We wanted to, try for a child. And the first 2 were technically born. The twins were born out of wedlock. And my wife is adopted and comes from motherland is Hungary, and family and all that kind of stuff is extremely important, which I completely got. And I had given my heart to her, and she asked me. So I said yes. And nonetheless, on our first wedding anniversary for the first year that we were together, I had done really well. So I actually went and took these $20. It was crazy. But these so $40 in silver, we took these to a local jeweler and had them. They had to actually add, because there wasn't enough silver even in the rings. And the silver wasn't expensive. It was that these were custom made, what do you call them? Die cast, right? Or cast, whatever, custom cast, little silver cast that they made. And it has our date on the back, the day that we were married. as well as each other's initials, which is really cool. I think the whole thing cost me like $500, which was no problem. We, I was making good money and it was well worth it. It was our first wedding anniversary and all that. So I was extremely, how do you say, okay by all means with paying it. I look back and I was thinking, spent more than 10 times what we spent on the rings to make them something that was on, that quite frankly is 50 times more. How do you say? Not nostalgic. That's not the word. Memorable. I guess that's the word. 50 times more memorable. By the way, is the light okay? It's actually nighttime. I got my, y'all can't see it, but my wall of inspiration is on. Eventually, I'll get a little camera that I can, pan around the room, or maybe I'll go live from the phone here in the future one day, just maybe take a tour or something like that. Not anytime soon. Trust me, it's just too much of a pain in the ass. Little Steam gives a great hit. By the way, I am about to tell the story. But there is one more. My son, and this is a 420 story, which I have to share. My youngest son, number 4, he came up to me. I think it was yesterday, or I tweeted about it because I thought it was hysterical, but I wanted to share it on the show regardless. But he came up to me and he was like, Dad, he was really excited. He's like, guess what? And I was like, what, dude? He's like, guess how many coins I have? And I was like, how many? He's like, 420. Actually, I think he technically said 420. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And I was like, that's awesome. I don't technically think that he knows what 420 means. He just knows that Dad is the spirit of 420. So obviously the number is quite fun for him. But that was a blast. I thought that was quite hysterical. And last but not least, since it's the boys' birthday and I've been talking about them all day, or at least the twins, obviously, they weren't all 4 born on the same day. And there's always Joe. If you look at this right here, this is one of my favorite little pieces that I don't know if you can see it, but it's 5 quarters. Each quarter, mind you, is a year, the same year that the boys were born. So I've got 3 2000s, an 11, and then a 14. And then it didn't work at first. I ended up smashing them with hot glue, but that didn't work. So then I ended up putting, after the hot glue dried and they came apart, I just went and put super glue on there, and now it just stays in my pocket. I had it out only because that way I would remember to tell y'all about it, because it's funny, but when I need to make a small decision, if you will, nothing major, but whenever there's a little decision and it's always a yes or no, two-way street, I just pull that out and I flip that big hunk of quarter and let the boys decide, which I always thought was, I really think it's cool. Anyway. That's it for all the stuff about me. Let's get into the story. I will say this: if you want to know more about me, again, I urge you to watch the trailer. It's at the front of my channel, and you can also watch last episode was a good one because it was just about karmic debt. So a lot of it was about me personally, if you will. So moving forward, Tales of a Drug Lord, and we are on chapter 2. For those of you that weren't in the last one, I'm not going to go over the entire story, but it left off that I can't even remember what I gave her, what name I gave her. So let's give her a new name. Lona. There we go. Lola. So Lola and I were together, and I think I told you this was in Athens. I will give you that much. And I had moved from the bigger city there, Atlanta, and it was now, time to kind of, I was trying to actually start a relationship, and was, technically speaking, when we got together, had a job. And to give you just a little bit of backstory before that, and you do need to know this, for about, I want to say, maybe 3 months, maybe only 2 months. I'm trying to remember exactly. I was what they called a street urchin from that area because I had no home, but I had originally moved up there with another female, and my time there was over. I could no longer stay. I mean, that was cool. The deal was that I could stay there. That's what it was. It was about exactly 2 months because she got the place at the beginning of the summer because she goes to school there. And once school started, there was going to be a roommate, and I can no longer be there. And there was actually 3 of us staying there, three bums. We weren't bums. We just didn't want to live in Atlanta anymore. In my previous relationship, it ended. So I was like, fuck it. When you're young, you'll make those kind of moves. I was only 21, and to me, life was ahead of me. Plus, I was dealing, even though I was, technically homeless. I was making a lot of good money. I'd been dealing, and this is in the previous story. I'm pretty sure I told that, but I've been dealing acid and all kinds of other things, and working my way up the ranks and learning how to get more and more volume. The more volume that you buy, then the cheaper it is. Bottom line. But nonetheless, I was living on the streets. So to me, it was just an opportunity to, find a girlfriend, settle down. I actually had a legitimate job, but the job wasn't going that well. And we had just got a dog. You'll love his name, Tie Stick Horizon, because he was for a marijuana future. That would be awesome. If he was alive today, he'd just be such an awesome dog still. But he was I named him after the possibility of a marijuana, or the belief in a future of a legalized marijuana. And it happened. So anyway, we were not making that much money. And I looked at her one day and I was like, because I had all these connections and I knew all these people. In fact, I talked to this guy, let's call him Daryl. And Daryl was like, dude, I can get elbows to you for $1,200. I'm like, really? And this was back in, this was like 93. So even though it was commercial weed, and for those of you who don't know what that means, commercial weed is usually going to come from almost entirely from Mexico. It was very compact. Literally, sometimes I would get bricks that were that big around and were like that thick, and that was a pound, if you can believe it. Astonishing. But anyway, Daryl said he could do that. So I looked at Lola and I was like, if you go to your grandmother and get $2,000, then I can build us an empire. And she was like, those were literally my words. She was like, no. And I was like, yeah, it's, I'm telling you, I know what I'm doing. It's time. I've got, by now, the funny advantage and the reason I gave you that backstory is living on the streets and being a drug dealer for like 2 months early on. You can imagine that I made a lot of connections downtown too. And even though I was literally working, and after work, I would just go down and sit on the bench down there and get high. And that's a whole nother story that I'll have to tell one day, because it's really it's a funny time. Let's just put it that way. But the connections, there was a lot of connections that were laid in front of me, and I ended up meeting a lot of people who, I just knew if I had product constantly, it wasn't going to be that hard to do things. And we got that house. And I don't want to say that because what this part is, the first house that we moved into, we got a little cottage. It was literally a kitchen with had a little, how do I say it? I guess you call it like a little living room, if you will, then a bathroom, and then just 2 bedrooms. Really small, very, very efficient. But it had its own little property, had a little cool porch, and it was a cottage, so it kind of had this, how you say, nice quaintness to it that was very, very warm, and we really loved it. We made it, we decorated, we put all these lights and tapestries up. But I digress. I do that a lot. I was hoping to see one of the vets. Are any of the vets here with us tonight? Any of them? Just shout out if you are. We'll give it a minute. I'm going to change the banner real quick to one other one here for just a little bit, and then we'll come back to the vets again before we leave. Their link so y'all can see that. It's Military Vet Help, and the link that I have actually is in the description if you're on YouTube. So their Discord link is there, and you can use that to join their Discord link and have discussions and find out how you can help. I think I said it the other day, to me, it's all about, at this point, helping, collaborating, working with other people. The only way you're going to get anything done, just a quick digress, I know, is to decrease your 6 degrees of separation, right? That's what they say. 6 steps separates each of us. Well, if you know a fuck ton of people, then you'll reduce that down. So Anyway, so Lola and I got this cottage, and I mean, literally, I don't think we had been there. I don't think it was a month, and then that's when I said to her, you get me $2,000, I'll build an empire. And because I knew her grandmother was loaded, and I wasn't trying to take advantage. I was like, look, we'll get it right back to her fairly quickly, quite frankly, and that way, number one, she'll loan you the money again in the future if you ever need it. Number two, we look really good, and number three, we get what the hell we want now, which is living better than rats, right? And I promise you, I was a dishwasher for an actually pretty decent restaurant. You can look them up, the Palma's Italian Cafe, and even got to the point where I was flipping pies. But I mean, you're still not talking about good money. It's just not good money. You can't make good money in the restaurant business. You can't even make that money today. Well, again, whole other subject. So got the money, went to Daryl, got my first pound, and I didn't get anything. I kept 800. I wanted to have cushion. Not only that, but if you know how dealing works and you understand, and part of this is to explain that, just because people don't know how easy it is. And I'm not some brainiac. Yes, I shouldn't say that. I am highly intelligent, but you would be surprised at the amount of intelligence it takes to put together the dots to do what I did. And that's what I mean. I didn't have to rack my brain. I think I did it stoned as shit from the very first time that it ever happened. Even getting my first bag, I'd already smoked before that. It was just the first time to get a bag and go tell mom that I'd been smoking. And that's a whole, go back and watch that episode. It's a good one. But by keeping 800, not getting, putting all my money, first of all, I don't put all my eggs in one basket, right? I go ahead and get myself 16 ounces that I can start working with. The moment that I made 400 more, I immediately turned around so that I got another pound before the other, the first pound was even run out. Now, after about, literally it didn't take long. And now in the beginning it was, which is why the original title was still peddling, because even when this first happened to me, what I was doing now was peddling in concerns to where I ended up. So it all was peddling to the top until I got there, which wasn't much further down the road, by the way. Yeah, I'm fuzzy. Let's see. Yeah, it's this damn autofocus. Well, I tell you what I'll do. Here, let me just try this. Just went back on it. Well, that's just really... Oh, gosh. Stupid camera. Here, let's see if I brighten up for a minute. Well, that's going to piss me off. I know it's pissing y'all off. Hey, there. Okay. Looks like it's back. I'm going to leave the light on. We good? I know y'all might not see it yet, so let me know when you see it. That was a real... Hey, that's part of going live. And I will say this, it's just part of life. Life is live, right? Excuse me. So back to where I was, and believe it or not, I didn't lose my place, like I do many times due to the crappy situation there. Thank you. And I do apologize. And I'm sorry, I missed one up here. Just so you know, Norma, I did a whole nother episode about my rings, because each one, all 7 have a meaning of them. So go back and watch those and you'll hear about it. Back to where was I? Peddling. Really, to me, it was all peddling. Now when I look back on it, until it got to where it was. And I mean, people probably think I'm gloating. I'm really not trying to gloat. I made drug lord status because I was wanted by the DEA. I was wanted by the GBI. I was wanted by another 3-letter acronym that I can't remember off the top of my head. Not to mention local narcotics. So that's when you know that you've made that status. It's not something that you necessarily brand on your forehead. You end up having it. So again, I had start off with the $1,200 pound. Shortly thereafter, by the way, one of the first big moves that I did is I made a couple of adjustments and talked to Dave or Daryl. It really doesn't matter. Y'all will never figure out who it is. Talked to Daryl, and I was like, dude, I'm going to start doing like this much inside of every 2 weeks. Will you give me a price cut? And of course he did. So I got my first price cut down to 1,000. I mean, it's really just negotiating, you know what I mean? And quite frankly, I know that what Daryl did is he went back to who he works with. And he was like, hey, if I guarantee a certain amount of increase, well, I get a price cut, because it just trickles. The more again, it's volume. The more you buy, the more you save. And that's the whole game in drugs. And it's funny because it really should be the whole game in life. And you see that most of the time. But there's places now where they're like, oh, it doesn't matter if you buy 100, we're not going to give you a deal. That shit drives me crazy. I'm like, dude, if I buy 10, if I buy 5 for crying out loud, you should have some kind of, that's quantity. I'm giving you 5 sales at one time. Give me a 10% discount. It's why most software companies, I'll just say this real quick, because it is part of the dealing. It really is. But most software companies, right? They're like, if you do a year, we give you 10, 15, someone will give you 20% off if you pay for the year in advance. Simply put, you're paying for all those months in advance. Here's a volume package. That's all it is. They've already billed you, even if you don't like the product, who cares? You already paid for it. So I quickly started doing different moves like that. I also, my neighbors, if anybody who knows me, obviously I'm pride friendly. I'm every single race out there friendly. I'm trying to religious friendly. I don't care. Whatever there is that people use to separate one another, they truly are not boundaries for me. In the first trailer, again, I talk a lot about that, so you understand that I have all kinds of crazy different blood in me. I've been to different religions, practiced different religions, so I have no bias. And I ended up befriending these my neighbors who, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Omega Boys. They are a fraternity, college fraternity, all black. I don't know that they're still all black. They were in 90, when this was happening in 93, that it was an all black fraternity. But 3 of them, it wasn't like their frat house, mind you. It was 3 of the Omega brothers had a house. Literally, we shared borders. I always love mentioning this because not only did I sit and play NBA live, or what was it, NBA jams for, oh my God, hours with those dudes, but they were the ones that introduced me, and I ended up through them because I went to a house party. I think I talked about this once before, but ended up meeting Outcast, or one of them, Andre. But more importantly, who would never remember me? But more importantly, what was really cool is they were the ones that introduced me to not just Outcast, but Goody Mob, like pretty much the whole Dungeon family. So and now that's like riddled. I mean, all of them, from CeeLo and what he's done by himself, all those guys, just are awesome. Big boys doing it by himself now. Hopefully, Andre 3000, just a shout out, will get his shit together. I know he had some issue. I don't mean that in a bad way. I hope he will get it together where he can start to rap again. I know he's been in some movies, but sure would love to see that guy behind the mic. Anyway, moving on. So I was very good friends with him and would hang out with them, and they always would buy a lot of pot. Obviously that was one of the things that they did like about me, is they could always come over and get a bag from me at any time. And they always did. They weren't, I wouldn't say they were my number one customer, but they were definitely one of my continuous, everyday customers. They bought, many times they would just buy a lot of like $20 bags, which I was happy to oblige. And it was fine. I would just move a lot through them, but just in small amounts. But of course, the less you sell, the more you're making for your money, because that $20 bag might, have costed me in the $1,200 scheme, $3 or something like that. So maybe $4, whatever. Well, I was continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I was even starting to get pounds from another source mailed to me, which what balls you have when you're 21 years old that you will actually take the chance and fucking have marijuana. I had 5 pounds mailed to me directly, just right to the front door. I mean, that shit today is commonplace, but that's a different story. Back then, people didn't take that kind of chance, and if you did do it, you definitely didn't do it to the address that you were living at. Just, I don't know if it was cojones or not caring or just being stupid, And I am highly intelligent, but that even today, I think about that. That was dumb. However, the point being, and I went a little longer than I wanted to, so I'll go ahead and just wrap up the story here. Yeah, I mean, I was almost done, so don't think that I'm rushing it. You're not missing anything. I would never rob you of that experience. Why come if you're just going to get robbed? Funny enough, that's where we're going, huh? You'll see. Robbed, that is. So I love these dudes, and I'm telling you, the guys that live there absolutely love me, and we'll come back to there. We bonded very much. I can't count the hours beyond. Obviously I really liked hanging out with them, so I would come over there many times with like a nickel bag anyway and just smoke them up, just because I love sitting over there playing NBA jams, and I didn't have it at the time, and I didn't have a copy of Southern Playlistic Cadillac Funky Music, so I really loved that album. It was just incredible. It's still incredible today. My sons, shout out to the birthday, they love it, and they'll tell you they love it. So as much as I like them, I gave them the right to be like, yeah, if you want to let somebody know, just have them be discreet. I had not gotten a mobile phone just yet, but I had a pager with, back then it was pretty fucking cool because it had 4 lines of text. Although you did call in and talk to an operator. So you wouldn't be calling into the operator and be like, yeah, do you have that pound? Yeah, so it's not, that's not the text you're going to send back then. It was all coded. Everything was coded. We always had to be coded. And that's just the way it was. And we didn't use the obvious codes because everybody already knew elbows by 93. Let me just tell you. It's funny, people still use that today. So knowing that everything was on the up and up, and feeling that, I knew these guys had my back. Hold on a minute. That's going to go off. Cuckoo. I am cuckoo. Cuckoo for crazy. Cocoa, or what is it? Crazy for Cocoa Puffs. What was the one that goes cuckoo, though? Is that the bunny, or is that the... it doesn't fucking matter. So one day, a couple of guys contacted me, and I knew that they were, or at least they said that they were, friends of my neighbors. They came over, and at first everything seemed fine, and they went back, and this was one of my early mistakes. And I tell this story because, again, it's amazing. This one really should almost be dubbed. I wouldn't say it was almost a time that I died, but I mean, it could have gone wrong, and who knows what really, and you'll hear all of it. But I mean, my point is, it was stupid. First of all, if someone's asking you, even for, a quarter bag ounce, or God forbid, a QP, which is I said a quarter pound. I mean, a quarter bag ounce, or a QP, which is a quarter pound. Any one of those, that's fine. You're going to do business with them and you're going to sell it to them, but you never take anybody in. And I've seen the mistake continually made. That it was the last time I made it. And I made it because I had seen it done so many times, and it was trust, right? You think, oh, marijuana, it's a more trusting business. Well, not in 93, and it has nothing to do with race, color, skin, or any of that shit. I promise you, because I've had white, black, Hispanic, Oriental, all in situations with guns, and we'll get to all those stories. But this is one of the first times. These guys happen to be black, simply because that was who my neighbors were, and that's the only reason. Had they been, some white dudes that listen to thrash metal, then this would have inevitably happened with a couple of white dudes. I promise you, because it was my over trustingness and not realizing that I was now already, like I said, this was, laying the foundations, but I was already at a place where, quite frankly, people wanted what I had and were willing to threaten me to get it. So I led them back to my room. Like I said, major mistake, pull out the scales, and I get my box out, which is, at the time, I think it had, I was trying to remember to the best of my knowledge all day today, but I want to say there was about 1 3/4, and I'm quarter pounds. That is 1 3/4 pounds. And I'm pretty sure these cats were just wanting a QP. So, funny enough, in my dealings, the more that you were getting, the more comfortable the guy selling it to you would be with letting you see it, all happen. Now, you always weigh it in front of them. But what I mean is you don't show them your stash. You don't show them where you keep all of it. You find out what they want. You leave them in the front fucking room. You go to your room. You lock the door. You do your business. You come out with the scales and the pre-weighed stuff and then weigh it again for them with a little extra in your pocket in a baggie just in case it was off, right? That's what you do. And again, I learned that. But I did not do that this time. And I had not been doing that up until this time. And again, they were getting a QP. So I felt very comfortable. And what's funny is I think the only reason that I did what I did is because of the way it went down. The guy, the one guy, he had a hoodie on, but he had a long shirt underneath, and he didn't pull both up. He just pulled, I know you can't see, but he just pulled the hoodie where the long shirt was over, and he tapped at his belt like he was packing. And I knew immediately what was happening. I wasn't stupid. I didn't have to think about it. I immediately yelled to Lola, who was actually still out in the other room, to call the police. And I know people are like, dude, you're a drug dealer. Yeah, well, let me tell you something. The moment you say call the police, guys who are robbing you for drugs are also going to leave much quicker than you would imagine. And I told them to, I screamed out, call the police. And then I grabbed the weed and did a double take because I was pretty sure immediately, I was 99% sure and obviously willing to bet on my life. Plus, she was, I know that she was calling the police, that these cats were not actually packing, that, part of what they were doing, they were going to try to rob me, but they were going to try to do it under the pretenses that they did have a gun. But, so I never did see a gun. And when I did my double take and out juked them to get to my bedroom door with my duffel bag, I got to the bedroom and got out of the door. They both busted out the door and ran. And it's funny because they had come over from my neighbor's house. And what I mean by that is I saw them, walking over because we had a little bay window. That was part of what we had in the cottage. And you have to walk up. There was 2 ways to walk up, one here and one from the side. And I saw them walk out, but walk over from my neighbor's house. But that's not the way they ran. Just so you know, they ran. We were on a corner, and they ran diagonally across the street and jumped in a car and split. And the funny thing is, Lola had called 911. So obviously, at that point, I did have the police on the way. So I immediately had to now back up all the drug paraphernalia, including the scales and everything. I mean, like all the pipes and bongs that we had. And we did have a graphics 4-footer, which, back then you didn't want to have that around when your cops are sniffing around the place. And yeah, I threw all that shit in the car and sent her over to a friend's house while I waited on the cops and talked to them. And obviously I gave them a good bullshit story that somebody was just trying to rob me, right? It didn't talk about drugs. Regardless, one of the times that, Cuckoo, there you go. That's great. I love that. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like I say, I wouldn't call it necessarily one of the times that I should be dead. I would. It is part of when it ended. And what I mean by that is right about that time, it's the next phase of the story. It all kind of hit me in that moment. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine who knew what I did, but he didn't do it. Obviously, we were just friends. He got his platform, we became very good friends. One of the only people that I befriended, that I dealt to. But that's where I had Lola go, and he and I were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I think you're right. It's time that probably ought to go ahead and just not worry about living that lease out. At least was 6 months, and I think we stayed exactly 5.5 months and left 2 weeks early, because that was about 2 weeks prior to. It was a month prior to lease being over, but it only took us 2 weeks to basically pack up and get a new house. And I knew it was, a different time. Obviously learned from it because I told you how you do it properly, and that's how it was done every single their time after, except for the partner. If you have a partner, that's different, and that's a whole nother ball game, because that's the next phase. Is that when I took on a partnership, and when you hear that story, you'll understand, because it really went from all these type of things snowball, right? It always starts off small, and it's always the hardest in the beginning. And each time you make a significant move or a significant change, which, even in what I'm doing now, it's the truth. But each time I make a significant move or reach a new plateau, the next one becomes essentially easier to get. And I shouldn't say easier, but I mean, that is really the word. It does become easier, because I can tell you what it ended up turning out to in the dealing business, in the drug dealing business. I mean, I wanted what I ended up getting. I didn't anticipate that I would get it so quickly, and that's where I'll leave it. But the next one, just to preview, the next one is going to be a different house. It's where I take on a partner, and it's also where the volume becomes much more than 5 over 2 weeks, but multiples daily. So I would like to thank everybody for participating. It's Sunday tomorrow, so I won't be going on tomorrow. I will have a thumbnail up for this later on, probably by tomorrow, and there'll be some additions made, obviously, to the description, so you kind of have an idea of what all I've rambled all about. Would love to. I know the people chat. I love that, and I appreciate the chatting. I would also appreciate if anybody wants to leave comments and things like that. If there's anything that you've heard me allude to that I didn't discuss enough, or you want me to tell another story, there's one I've got to retell anyway because I lost the footage. So that's awesome. We'll call those just the early days and early mistakes of streaming. That was not a good hit. I went long tonight, probably long-winded, so I'm not going to worry about taking a dab. Well, yeah, I'll give it 20 lag seconds. If you say do a dab, then what the hell? I'll stay on for 30 more seconds, but I'm not going to do 2. I just don't. I don't have it in me tonight to do 2. Number 1, number 2. I don't have as much as I would like when it comes to this, and the mornings are much more. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows that my morning breakfast of champions is quite important to me. Although I will say tomorrow is Dispo Sunday, so yes, I will be getting more, most definitely. That is not even debatable. But I got to make it through until I get there. That means I got to have some for the rest of the night. I got to have some. Got to have at least 3 in the morning and 3 before I go to the Dispo, because generally not anymore the guy that gets up there right when they open, unless it's 420. Now on 420, I'm always one of the first. I have 2 Dispos, and I'm always one of the first 10 at one and first 25 at the other, because there's prizes, and it just seems fitting. Spirit of 420, right? That's actually how I started off this last 420. It was great. I went out, got a lot of prizes, came home, told them all that I was going to be doing what I'm doing. Got the prizes, came home, got totally ripped. And believe it or not, on that first episode that came out, right on time at 420, because you can schedule the pre-records. But I think I recorded that thing at like 1:30 12:30 that afternoon or 2 o'clock or something like that. Edited it and did everything and uploaded it and got it off at 4:20. I was like, holy shit. I think I did the trailer too. I did the trailer first. That's what it was. I did all of it that day and then put it up. So anyway, most people don't realize just how normal strange actually is. I'm living proof of it. Hopefully the people, as I collaborate, I'm going to start having guests on the show. We'll see what happens there. It wasn't necessarily planned to have guests, but you know what? If you have a great story and you want to be a guest, I would love to. I'm not opposed. Number one, I always love change. So even though I planned it one way, I was always open to it evolving into whatever it was going to be. With that said, I'm absolutely and always have been open to collaboration. Why I thought I was going to do this by myself forever if I got popular, I don't fucking know, but that was just the original, vision, if you will. But that's already changed. So there will be collaborations. If you're into it and you want to do something like that, hey, get in touch with me. Obviously, there's plenty of ways you can leave a comment. Oh, look, something strange about myself. Is that what you've obviously watched the shows, the pre-records that I've posted? Something strange. Oh, man. I have to think about that for just give me one second. Something strange. Okay, so a lot of people had voted for, I actually saw Sexcapades, technically speaking, by number of votes, came in second as far as Sexcapades Chapter 2. And I'm not going to tell one. Those are actually funny stories, though, just a side note. They're not necessarily graphic. But what I'm about to say is pretty, I think, graphic. And I don't think I've shared this. And if I did, Strange Bird, I do apologize. But when I was 16, I found out that I could, give myself fellatio. And so I spent a lot of time in the bathroom. I'm sure my father thought it was just regular old, this, but I get about halfway down on myself. And I thought that was pretty strange. But at the time, I thought it was pretty incredible. So, and it all happened because I was a wrestler. When I wrestle, it's funny because I've since seen jokes on other, I think it was a sitcom or something about it that wrestlers could do it. And I was like, so it wasn't just me, obviously, that you get so flexible and so in shape for wrestling because you use every single part of your body that you literally, there's even an exercise where you're staring at your junk. So I guess it makes sense that I wasn't the only one staring at my junk during workout, and was like, well, damn, I'm just, I'm that far from it, and it's not even out there. So that was how it happened. It's not hard. I mean, it's probably, I guess, not strange then because a lot of wrestlers did it, but I think it's strange. But it was fun while it lasted. Again, most people don't know how normal strange actually is, right? So opinions are like assholes, or I should say everybody knows that opinions are like assholes, and everybody believes that everybody else's stinks. Mine stink like fine brewed coffee in my 420 mug always. And that is a nice Mayan blend. Oh, and I put my lighter in my pocket. Mine stink again like the coffee and the medical, legal grade weed. Until another episode, which will most likely be today. Today is the 4th, right? So most likely it'll be Tuesday. I'm guessing most likely Tuesday. Yeah. So probably see you Tuesday. Take a couple days off. Tomorrow's off, and then I usually like to do odds, but today was a special broadcast because my best bud's birthday. I had to go live for him to make sure that he was feeling it. But that does mean I get 2 days off, bro. So anyway, I love all you guys. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for being there. Until next time, we will see you. Oh, you know what? Let me just put this banner up real quick. You can pause this real quick. I'm just going to let that run before I run the outro. Again, these guys, their link is in my in the description. of the video. And actually, I'll just start saying it. I said I wouldn't, but please don't subscribe. I'll keep it me still. Don't do any of that shit, but do. Anyway, y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and see you on the next episode.